Hey guys, welcome back. You have you may have noticed there's a few changes going on around here. We just rebranded the podcast. I am beyond thrilled with how everything is turning out. The new name of the podcast is Your Today Story, and Your Today Story is a technique. It's a morning routine, a simple morning routine that is going to completely change your life. Um, I'm one of those people that find it very hard to do the 5 step morning routines like entrepreneurs always set up. And I also have a hard time figuring out what my intention is for the day, too, which is maybe unusual, but I just find a hard time to, set those things up in the morning. So I came up with this new technique. It's very easy. It's called Your Today Story, and we are going to be rolling out more information about it in the next few weeks. We are going to have a 5-day challenge the last week in April. It'll be live Instagrams every single day with simple and easy steps that will introduce you into this new concept that you will be able to use for the rest of your life. So I hope you'll join us for that. There'll be more information coming up in the next few weeks. Check your emails, check on Instagram so that you can get registered for that challenge. It's going to be total game changer and lots of fun and a great community to be involved with. That being said, with this new change of direction, we have an amazing guest on the podcast today. I am thrilled to be able to get to know her and just to talk to her a little bit. You probably know her. Her name is Terra Newell. She is actually the younger daughter on the Dirty John series. Now, it was first introduced as a podcast and then later became a Netflix show that I highly recommend if you haven't watched it yet. But it's basically about this toxic relationship that her mother developed with this con man whose name was John Meehan, and how he wormed his way into their lives and really just created so much trouble. It was a very scary experience. And without, spoiler alert, without going into the rest of it, Tara had a very traumatic experience with him near the end of the story. So she's actually the heroine of the story. She is brave. She is strong. She is just, she's a light to so many people. Also, I want to say, if you have experienced trauma in your life, I do want to let you know that this podcast could trigger some of those memories. So I do want to put a trigger warning on it because there are a few things that she talks about that could be deeply disturbing if you have experienced a trauma in your own life. The reason I wanted Tara to come onto the podcast was because I see so many women stuck in this monotony of their daily lives, and they may have dreams and feel like they were destined for so much more, but it's very hard to get started. And that's what everything I do about this on this podcast and with my business is empowering women and helping them to actually see the potential in themselves. You can see potential in other people. You can see potential in your sister, in your mom, your neighbor, your best friend. But many times we struggle seeing potential in ourselves. And that is my entire business. It's my entire passion is for women to be able to see their potential and then do whatever they want with it. But at least realize it and have the strength to go forward and progress or stay where they're at or do anything they want, but now they have that awareness of who they truly are and they can align that awareness with their true purpose. And when they're trying to do that, sometimes you'll run across stumbling blocks. You'll run across roadblocks. You feel like you're not really getting anywhere. And if you've experienced a past trauma, it could be even more difficult. So I wanted to bring Tara on because she not only experienced this incredible trauma and she lived through this experience, and now she has taken steps to get help. and is coaching women. She has a retreat coming up. She's going to talk all about the retreat with incredible guests, doctors and other past survivors. She has somebody who's doing meditations every night. She has a yoga instructor. It's just going to be this incredible life-changing experience. And if trauma is something that you have experienced in your life, or if it's a toxic relationship that you've experienced in your life, or maybe even going through now, this could be the moment where that shifts and you're able to break some of those cords that bind you and be able to move forward. So if that resonates with you, if that's something that you are ready for in your life, this retreat is going to be the moment that really changes everything for you. And just a heads up, at the beginning of the podcast, you're going to hear these very annoying sounds like papers crunching. And what happened is the day that we scheduled Terra for the podcast, I had construction going on just outside my house. Like literally, they're tearing up the street. And so I had to take my computer and go off-site to some place that they had Wi-Fi. And those sounds are me trying to balance paper while my computer's balancing on my knee. And anyway, I made the noise, but it does go away after a while. I just want to give you a heads up. You're not going to have to listen to that paper rustling the entire podcast because it is slightly annoying. So, all right, let's get into it. I'm so glad you're here. Hi there. I'm Gina Kershaw, a former criminal defense attorney that has helped thousands of women get back on their feet and move forward after challenging times in their lives. Building on that experience, I've spent the last 15 years mentoring, motivating, and coaching women to see their true potential so they can take action toward living their dreams. This podcast bridges the gap between where you are now and where you want to be by giving you the tools to find your purpose, get control over your emotions and feelings, and start having an impact for good for yourself and everyone around you. These tools are life-changing and will help you to obtain all that you desire, whether it's a successful business or simply peace and clarity in your life. So glad to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. Today, I am super excited to have Terra Newell with me. I'm sure many of you know who she is. She's considered one of the biggest badasses of true crime. And she actually was involved with a very serious situation when she was 25 years old regarding John Meehan, who was this con man and serial predator who actually attacked her. And she had to react in self-defense and ended up killing him, taking his life in order to preserve her own. She has been bravely sharing her story across the world to bring more awareness to situations like this and to predators like this. And she is a total inspiration to many people. And you're working alongside activists to help pass laws, to help people. Is that right? I got that right?
Yes. No, I'm working with Laura Richards a lot of the times to help pass coercion laws in the United States. And we were, all around because she works all over the place, but mainly I can only help in the United States with legally, like with putting my name on stuff because unfortunately I'm not a dual resident in another country. But okay. I work alongside her to help put laws in the states for coercion, and we passed one in California with Senator Rubio.
Oh, fantastic. That's amazing. I love that. So the reason why I wanted to have you on here, Terra, is because my podcast and my business are all about empowering women. And I feel like women just get in this hypnotic rhythm of their daily lives. And at some point, if they do it for long enough, they really believe like they can't get out of that. They feel like they can't find their purpose. And so that's really what I'm trying to help women see. I'm trying to empower them to actually find their purpose by letting go of limiting beliefs, and also showing them how they can have their own businesses and move forward and be successful and have, the lives that they really want to lead. So most of them are entrepreneurs, and already, that's hard to do, right?
Oh yeah,
It's
so
hard
hard.
to do. It's already tough on the self-confidence. But what I found also is that if they have a past trauma, and many women do have past traumas, it can make this entrepreneurial path, their journey, harder. And so I thought you would be such an amazing guest to have here to kind of talk about that and help us and help women to see that there's an open door, that there's a light, and regardless of any past trauma, that they can move forward and do, what they want with their future and create their own destiny. So I'd like to start by just having you, tell us your story and what you're doing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited. I went through a major trauma, as you explained, and what the podcast like mentioned a little bit is that I have experienced past traumas, and I may have been in a toxic relationship prior. Well, I have been, but in the podcast it like briefly mentions like a little tidbit that I could relate to my mom, and that I was hit by a car by this toxic guy. So I mean, I went through childhood trauma too, and there's really a lot of traumas that I could talk about, but that would take probably 6 hours. That would be a series. But I went through a lot of trauma, and this was like the trauma that kind of pushed everything forward for me to deal with everything, because it was really a combative trauma where I was in fight mode all the time. And it was because I would get triggered because after the event, you have these triggers, like little triggers that remind you of the event, and they bring you back, and they might give you a flashback, or they might just bring you to a panic attack or to like a full on meltdown. And it's really sad when this happens because you see it on TV with people that came back from the military and stuff, and it's like you see that and you don't understand that. And for me, I 100% understand that. I 100% was that person freaking out on the floor, crying, ripping out my hair, like self hitting myself because it was all too much, and I didn't know how to handle these triggers or this trauma. And instead of, when you don't deal with your trauma, it gets the best of you. And you could go to depression, you could develop eating disorders, other disorders, or you could just literally kill yourself at the end of the day. I've known several people that have killed themselves because they could not deal with their traumatic experiences. And it's really sad because you can 100% deal with this. And I had to find my own journey and realized when I got to that point where it's too much for me and I needed to deal with it, which was like really my breaking point. I went to therapy, but I did not find the right therapist. So I actually moved to Texas, Austin, Texas for a little bit, and I lived with my sister, my oldest sister, Kim, in Texas, and her family. And then I went and I got a therapist. I found the right therapist. She was a great fit. I found that I personally need a woman and someone that's really nurturing, because I need that mother figure to help kind of support me and also validate me. So it was just a really great fit. She was so kind, amazing. She did a great job, and we did EMDR therapy. We did it twice a
What is
week.
that? What is
So
EMDR?
EMDR therapy is eye movement desensitization. I can never say this part right. Desensitization, reposition, and or something like that. But it is basically you do this therapy and you go through your traumas. But at first, you most likely establish a safe place so that you always have a source to go back for safety. Because the main thing about trauma is this person can never feel safe a lot of the times. And we want to make that person feel safe, especially when they're going through these trauma memories that are so heavy. And a lot of the times they'll start with a trauma that's in a sense lesson in the brain that's not as traumatic as the most recent experience that's really weighing heavy on me at that time or weighing heavy on that person at the time, and go through little traumas throughout. But when I say little trauma, it's just lesson, because I want people to know that a trauma is a trauma,
Yeah.
and that is heavy and that's major. So you go through these quote unquote little traumas and then you process through them and then you move on to your bigger trauma. But at this time, when you're processing through those memories, you either have buzzers in your hand that create a bilateral effect of the brain that keep you in the present moment. And you could also do your finger across and you watch the finger as you go through these traumatic memories. Or there's different lights and stuff. Each therapist uses different techniques. But you basically do this and then you go through your trauma. And it's so weird because the brain connects the traumas to different things. And then you kind of have realizations in your trauma, but you're still, after your sessions, you're still processing this. So it's a heavy time to go through EMDR therapy, but it's very extensive and great to go through. And because also when you go through a trauma, your brain changes the chemicals of the brain. And so you want to change those chemicals to go back to the normal brain, quote unquote. And so EMDR therapy really helps with that, because with trauma, we really need to work with your mind, body, and soul. And it kind of helps connect all and also help you stay in the present moment.
Yeah. Well, you're actually coaching now, right? I mean, you've gone through your own healing process and probably still are, but you are now helping other women. Tell us about that.
But yes, so I am a life coach. I'm a toxic relationship / trauma life coach. And a lot of the times those two will go hand in hand, because when you experience trauma, you you kind of choose to go back into those trauma situations, but unknowingly. Like your brain and your body is just used to those situations. So that's what's comfortable. So you go back until you're able to break that pattern. And I help my clients break that pattern and also get healing in their trauma. But I can't do EMDR therapy. So a lot of times I'll push for them to go to EMDR therapy. And that will be probably a couple months, sometimes 6 months. I don't really want to give a time limit on that, but it's like however long it takes you to process through those memories. And then I'm there to help support, validate, and then also make sure that they're not going into the hole for EMDR, because a lot of times, like, you go do these sessions and it's once a week or it's twice a week. And then, of course, like, you can always text your therapist, but it's always great to have a supportive figure there also during that time. And that EMDR time is not forever.
Okay. So if for example, let's say there's a woman who, has been working in a corporate job or just kind of doing the same thing for years and years. And she's finally decided that she wants to do something for herself. And so she has, kind of started considering other options for her life, maybe changing careers or starting a business. And as she goes through the process, she's realizing that she has a huge block, and she attributes it to a past trauma. What kind of I mean, where would you start with somebody like that as far as giving them, some suggestions about how to actually move past um, those limiting beliefs or those blocks so that they can actually, start living the life they want?
So, first thing, I try to target the problem firsthand. And the first problem that I noticed with this client is that she wanted to leave her job and she was unsatisfied with her job. So I would really want to start to do root work there
Mhm.
and see what made her unsatisfied with her job. If it was just something she burnt out, if she's bored with it, and really do root work there. And then I have lots of journals and worksheets that I give my
Oh,
clients to
I
help
love that.
come to these realizations. And also, I'll ask them questions like, she probably also didn't think, like, oh, why am I unsatisfied with my job? She may just think, oh, I need something new. I need something more new and exciting. I need a change. But she doesn't realize, like, sometimes change isn't what we necessarily need, but it's finding things to add to that. So a little bit of change, but add to that to make us happy and confident in our lives. And she may even have realizations where she has, sorry, trauma that has come up. And so now we need to do some root work there.
Mhm.
And so there's just a lot to process with that because the leaving the job is just the
Mhm.
underlying,
Yeah.
there's more to that.
I love that you brought that up because I know I listen to Brooke Castillo. She's the life coach school guru or whatever. She always talks about that. She's like, if you want to leave one situation for another, make sure you understand why,
Yeah.
because you need to be happy or satisfied in this first before you move here, because you're not going to find what you're looking for if it's not within yourself first.
Yeah.
That happiness. So I'm glad
Yeah. Like a
you
lot
brought
of
that up.
people use avoidance. So it's like she might be avoiding some things at work and not dealing with it. It may be triggering other things to come up. So, like, let's just do root work.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's the key word, right? Like you're getting to the root of it.
Yeah.
Starting there is where you have to start it. Um, I noticed that you have a retreat coming up, and I
Yes.
wanted to make sure that we get this podcast out this week so that anybody listening who's interested in attending your retreat can still sign up. Can you just let us know what's the retreat? What are you guys going to do there? What can they expect to learn or experience? And then how do they get more information?
Okay, so I'm really excited for this retreat. I have, I believe, 8 speakers. I have Dr. Judy Ho. She is on The Doctors, and she is a great psychologist. And she literally, I've seen her speak before, and I've seen her speak on a couple different things. And just each time, I have gotten the most out of her speeches than a lot of the other speakers there. So she was someone huge, and she's a personal friend too. So she's someone huge that I wanted to come and share her knowledge. Also, I have Dr. Judith Joseph, who's talking about psychiatric meds, and she's on Dr. Oz a lot of the time.
Okay.
And she's amazing too. I've made
Wow, you got
friends with
some rock
her.
stars.
Yeah, and she's just really talking about like PTSD meds and like all of that stuff. I'm not a psychiatrist, so that was something that I felt was really helpful for a lot of people to know because
Yeah.
a lot of the questions that I get asked is, how do I know if I should be on meds or if I should take meds or not be on meds? And I'm not a doctor, so I feel it's best for a doctor to answer that.
I agree. All right, who else do you have?
And I have Steffi, Superfood Goddess. She is talking about nutrition in the body and healing. because a lot of times we are eating these toxic foods and not realizing that it's not helping our body heal in any way. It's actually making us sicker. So she's going to be talking about that. She's also experienced a toxic relationship and has recovered from that. She is just amazing. Also everyone's amazing. I use that word probably a little bit too much, but you can never use too much
One of my favorite words
in life. Yes. And then I have Skylar. She's gonna be there.
Oh,
She's
I
gonna be
love
doing
her.
Yes, she's going to be doing yoga on Saturday and Sunday at the start of each day. And we have like kind of a late start because I'm not a morning person and I like everyone to kind of just get settled in their day before they bring in like some healing and some processing. I like to be aware. So it's starting at 11 a.m. PST on Saturday and Sunday, and then Friday, since a lot of people are working, it starts at 4 p.m. that day. And also I have Christina Rendon. She is doing a guided meditation for trauma at the end of each day so that we are kind of sealed off, or not sealed off, but we're just, a lot of times when we do this work, we're broken down, and it's kind of to rebuild you and to make sure that you're in a good place before you go.
Yes.
Because I think that's extremely important for a therapist or a coach or anyone to piece you back together a little bit before not leaving in such an emotional state.
Yeah.
It's okay to be emotional, but to not be hysterically crying at the end of it. And then who else do I have? I have, my mom, Debra Newell. She's talking about her toxic relationship, John Meehan, and how she has done her recover work from that. I have Lacey, my friend Lacey. She is talking about her kidnapping and how she recovered from that. She is just a superstar warrior. I love her so much. And when I think about what she's gone through, it's crazy because like we've gone through similar experiences, but each so different. But I just think about what she's gone through and I love her so much for it. And she's done such amazing work, and it's so important to do the work. So I'm so excited to hear her journey and her story. And then I have Anna Rose talking. She's doing a dating detox. And I'm like, am I missing anyone else?
You have a huge lineup.
Oh, I have Brenna. She's a therapist too. And she's also going to be talking about EMDR therapy.
Okay. Yes. Oh my gosh, this sounds so amazing.
Thank you.
How do people sign up?
So they just email me at terranewellcoaching at gmail.com, and from there I'll send them the schedule and then how to sign up. They'll just send me a Venmo through my coaching account so that I could pay the speakers. And then they just send me their name, their address, and as long as they have that, then I'll send them the Zoom link for the Zoom retreat. And if they sign up, well, this podcast will be out after this, but they'll get a workbook with it. One of my workbooks that I've created. So there's tools to also have after the retreat ends.
Okay. All right. That sounds amazing. It's going to help a lot of women. I actually had listened to Lacey's story and I was blown away too by what she went through. And so it sounds like you're going to have a lot of good insight there to people who have actually experienced things and can help other women get through things too. I love it. So good. So good.
Thank you.
I have some links I think for you, but your website is terranewellsurvival.com.
Yes.
And I'll put these in the show notes so that people can just easily click on them. And then you have a podcast too.
Yes, I have a podcast, Time Out with Terra. It's kind of episodes out sporadically because
Yeah.
you know how it is, like producing,
Yes.
editing. So
It's
I
time
have
consuming.
6 episodes that I still need to edit, but I have like one with Robin McGraw, Dr. Phil's wife. I have one with Vicki Gundelson, and I have some other great ones too.
Awesome. Okay, well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're a busy lady, but I am so grateful to have you here and to tell us a little bit about this. I know there's just a ton of women who want to know more, and many times, like you were saying, you know, they find therapists, but it's not the right person, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just need a starting point. And this
Yes.
can be that for so many people. So grateful for you.
Well, thank you so much. I enjoyed getting to know you today, and I appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you guys, wasn't that amazing? She is such a survivor. She is so inspiring. There were some really awesome takeaways from what she was talking about. If you've experienced a trauma in your life or have dealt with a toxic relationship, it really is important to get therapy. And if you don't find the right person right away, that's okay. Try again. You will find somebody who is able to help you. She also talked about a certain technique that was very, very helpful for her, EMDR, and I'm going to link to a description of that in the show notes so that you can look it up if you're interested. And then, of course, she talked about just basically giving yourself a break and cutting yourself some slack and just starting at the beginning. And don't feel like you have to jump in halfway through or try to start where somebody else is. You start at the very beginning where you need to be, and that is exactly how you are going to best get through this and be able to put it behind you forever. So, and then she has the retreat. So make sure that if that's something that sounds interesting to you, that you get in touch with her right away. The retreat is coming up this weekend. It's April 9th through the 11th, 2021, in case you're listening at a later date. But if you're interested in Terra, what she's doing now, her coaching, and future retreats, be sure to just get on her website and also follow her on Instagram because she'll have all of that information on there. And lastly, I wanted to remind you that we have the challenge coming up for your today's story. So if you're not on the emails yet, be sure to head over to my website at ginakershaw.com and just get on those emails so that you can start getting some information about the challenge. It will be 5 days at the end of April, and it'll be live Instagrams for about 45 minutes to an hour, but really tangible information that you can use that is going to change the way that you start your day. Every day, you are going to freaking love it. I am so excited at all the content that we have planned already for you guys. So I look forward to see you and all of you there. Thank you again. I hope you have an amazing week.